Biz Coach Show is back. What's going on, everybody? I am the executive producer of the Biz Coach Show. I am Chris Flowers, and I am here with the one and only Eric T. Whitmoyer. And he is the founder of My Biz Coaches and the host of the Biz Coach Show. And we're just playing around with some new toys here, new effects that we have here. So
yeah, you kind of screwed it up, man. You're supposed to actually do the applause after I get on.
But it really, people are here to see.
No. They're applauding me, not you. That's funny.
So,
all right, sir.
Like I said, so we're going to talk about the 6 core competencies today.
That's correct.
We're going to do a little three session view on that. So, why don't we go ahead and get started with, like I said, I know when we did that session, I know I really got it opened up my eyes to a lot of things, and definitely when you're first starting out, how usually good at like 3 of these. So, but we definitely got to keep all 6 of these in focus. So why don't you go ahead and get us started on how we can get this into our repertoire.
All right, sounds good. So we're going to dig in today. I'm going to do a high level of all 6 of the competencies and basically how they work, and the overview for the strategy behind this. So today, what I want to start with is really kind of where this concept came from. The original concept evolved from a series of client engagements. I've now had 108 clients in 6 years. Actually had our 6-year anniversary earlier this month. So, or actually last month, it's September. Look at that. So 108 clients now in just over 6 years. And one of the things that continued to evolve over the years, so I've told my story before, but just to reiterate, when I first started the business, it was actually called Superior Consulting Solutions, and I was doing sales consulting services. My first client was a lighting wholesaler, and the opportunity that they had, their sales were down. They wanted to increase sales, and I said I could increase them. I guaranteed them a 20% lift in 6 months, and we were able to do it 28% in 5 months. And then, lo and behold, COVID came along, and so required a bit of a pivot. But I share that because that forced me into identifying other areas of business where I could help clients that I did not up until that point really see as an opportunity for myself as a coach. But quickly identified that a lot of business owners do not know a lot about their financial situations within their business, not just basically bookkeeping, accounting, but even more specifically, they didn't have good KPIs. Many of them did not know what their highest selling products were, or they didn't know who their best customers were, or a number of different things that you would really want to know in the sales space, right? And so, as I'm kind of moving through the different boxes here, we start with leadership and vision. And leadership and vision is a key because everything starts with the vision of the owner. And leadership is, you've heard me say this many times before, but leadership is an extension of the person in charge, right? So everything, if attitude is not ideal in an organization, it usually stems from leadership somewhere. There's some disconnect in the leadership channel. And so, and often what happens is that the entrepreneur, who's the visionary, has an idea of where they want to go with the business. The problem is that message is not conveyed effectively. And that's what's lost with leadership and vision is I have an idea, I have a vision of where I want to go. And then I share, through my communication skills, I share that with the organization through my secondary and then tertiary leadership and ultimately to the field. And, we go execute on that vision and we create solutions and we get results and we have happy clients. It doesn't matter if they're a product or service, whatever it is that we're providing. But then, we kind of move through that. The next component of that is the financial acumen, which I was kind of leading into, is the issue that a lot of business owners, and I did not realize this when I first started coaching, a lot of business owners do not have a good handle on their financial situation. Don't know their numbers, don't know their metrics, right? We've had that conversation many times with a number of clients. And there's a lot of nuances to that. So, if you don't understand a P&L, that's not the end of the world. But when you don't have a good handle on basic KPIs, that really becomes a challenge.
And
Um,
explain what KPIs are again, because remember, there might be some people here
that's
that
right. That's right. Yeah. So KPIs, key performance indicators, and basically what it is, it is the numbers that you really need to know and understand about your business, and the things that will help you identify whether or not you're profitable or improving in your business, relative to kind of where you are in your current growth, and where you're going with your company. The next one is the sales and marketing, and it's pretty straightforward, right? It's marketing first, sales second. Marketing generates leads. Sales is the conversion of those leads into paying customers. Uh, that's pretty straightforward, but it's not common at all for people who are good at sales to also be good at marketing. Vice versa. If somebody's good at marketing, generally they're not much of a salesperson. They might be able to write sales copy, but actually converting and having a sales conversation can be quite different. So being able to write effectively to convert online, for instance, is quite a bit different than actually having a sales conversation face to face and converting a client into a paying client. So there's a
I
lot
was
to be
going to say
said about
my
those.
I was going to say more. There's, I think, from the sales perspective, if somebody's really good at sales. I know if this is just me personally talking. My operational side is what's lacking on my personal side. I think there are probably a lot of people out there that are like me in that same way as well. It's like I know what the vision is, I know how to explain it, but how to make it go.
Yeah, yeah, and then and to your point, that's the next one's the operational excellence, right? And it's a series of, and I'll break these down a little bit more, but as it relates to operationals, the key is getting it down to bite-sized pieces, right? Rather than try and look at this big amorphous, huge thing that we're trying to achieve, break it down to these little bite-sized pieces that we can kind of take one at a time, and just kind of chop it down and break it out. But that's literally how I got good at operations, was identifying, okay, there's 100 things here I got to do. Let's focus on the first one. Do that until it gets done. Figure out a process for it. Create that process and document it, and then go to the next one. Right. And some things are very simple and it's just a few steps. Other things are very elaborate and require multiple steps, and even maybe a number of employees. It just kind of depends. But the point is to break it down into these bite-sized pieces that you can move forward with. And then, so once you got your operations in place, now the next thing is, and your operations have to be in place before you go to human capital management, managing people, right? If you have teams of people, now we have just probably have as many solopreneurs as we do bigger companies. And one of the challenges I get pushback from the solopreneurs is I don't have any employees. I'm like, well, one, that's problem number one, because it's only going to scale as far as you can take the business, right? And so part of that challenge is identifying and as you mentioned earlier, there's certain skill sets that you bring to the table that may or may not be um, adequate to move your business forward. And so if you are, as it relates to human capital management, you're going to have to hire people to do the jobs that you either can't do or don't want to do, or are not high value, right? There's high value tasks and there's low value tasks. If you're the salesperson, like you referenced earlier, but building out some operational follow throughs and things like that, if that's not something you're really good at, and you want to hire somebody to do that, because it's going to be important that it gets done, but it shouldn't be something you do per se. So you're going to have to hire people and you're going to have staff. It could be a VA, but eventually you're going to have people at some point. It could even be a vendor relationship.
I think also pertaining to that, and this is just what I've learned from our coaching sessions, because you are my business coach. Um, you got this thing's got to run without you in it, or else
That's right.
it's not going to be it's not going to be scalable. But on top of that, it's not going to be sellable. Okay,
That's
so
correct.
the business owners do have to relinquish control of even some critical components as well, but you have to hire the staff properly, and that human capital management is going to be super crucial at that point, because now you're really letting go of the reins,
That's right.
and really managing it at more CEO high level area, to where, like I said, because if you're not doing that in your business, it's not going to be you might it's not going to be as sellable. And at
That's
the
right.
end, the end game is always the exit strategy, and how do we sell this thing for a bag and go live the good life? At least that's from what I've learned from working with you.
Yeah, well, that's most people's vision. I would say. I wouldn't say most. Many, more than half, anyway. Um, that might be most, but yeah. But at the same time, to your point, not built correctly, the likelihood of success is almost non-existent, right?
Correct.
So, and then the last piece is customer focus, and that seems really obvious, right? But at the same time, it's not quite so obvious to some business owners, as you would be surprised in
Right.
many cases. Is I'm really great at sales and marketing, for instance. I'm not personally, but I'm saying if I was really great at sales and marketing, but I'm not doing a great job of following up with the customer and making sure the customer is happy, I could be if I had a membership platform, I could be bleeding customers as quickly as I'm building them up and selling them, right?
Mhm.
I generate lead flow, I sell them, I convert them, I get them into the program, and then 3 months later they're dropping off because they're like, I'm not getting any follow through. Nobody's really taking care of me. I don't feel like anybody cares whether or not I'm successful. I'm out. Right. And so that's where the customer follow up is so important, the customer focus. It could be on the front end as well. It could be how I'm onboarded. It could be how I'm managed after I'm in place. That's a service based business. If it's a product, right? Are people acknowledging that the product I bought is or isn't working, right? I mean, there's so many different things. You also, the other way you can use customer focus is identifying with the customers what they like or don't like about your products or services, right? That's
Right.
another way to identify, do I need a new product? Is there a new potential opportunity, right? You got to listen to the customer. So there's all six of these are absolutely imperative to be successful over an extended period of time. Yes, you can build a business and only be good at a few of these for some period of time, but eventually you will tap out. You will get to a point where the business will hit a point where you could grow it and scale it through sales and marketing and maybe have a good vision. But if your operations aren't in place, it'll, like I said earlier, you'll start having problems. Client follow through isn't there. Customer focus isn't there, right? You don't hire the right people. There's a number of different things that will all play they'll all intertwine with one another over time. But in the beginning, now here's another piece of this. So of the six, you led to it, you mentioned earlier, of the six inherently as individuals, as humans, we are likely only bringing 1 to 3 of these to the table naturally. Like that's something I trained on. That's something I did for years. For instance, you have a relatively good financial acumen because you did banking for 30 years. So you have a
Right.
good understanding of some basic P&L stuff, and you have a good, solid financial understanding. And you've done sales, so you understand sales, and you're pretty good at that. To your own admission, operations not your favorite piece, right?
Nope. Not
Um,
my forte.
right. And so, identifying the ones that you aren't as strong at. Now, that's not to say that you can't get better at it too, but here's the
But
issue.
why? Hire somebody to do
That's the question, right?
it.
That's the question exactly. Sometimes it's a why question. Sometimes it's I may need to be good enough at that particular skill set so that I can know how to hire for it, which is another
Right.
whole nother conversation, by the
Or
way.
know if something's going sideways. You be able to
That's right.
at least have a high enough level view of, like, say, okay, something doesn't seem right here,
That's right.
in this particular aspect. But I do believe in that Andy Stanley um, mantra of, hey, there are people out there that love to do what you hate, pay them to do it.
That's right.
Most definitely. But yeah, you have to have yeah, and especially some people are like, well, like I don't know numbers, I don't like the numbers. Well, that's how embezzlement happens. You better be
That's
paying
exactly
attention to those numbers. You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have, like,
right.
you have an accounting background, all that stuff. You don't have to be an accountant, but you better have enough of a, you better not, you said you want to still be involved in the business enough to where you're looking at the numbers saying, hey, wait a minute, something's not, my cost of goods is going up, or my profitability, where's my margins? Like, so you got to have at least that much of a grip on it to say,
That's
hey,
right.
I'm at least seeing something wrong here,
That's right.
or else, like I said, or else that's how you go broke.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, it means you and I grew up at the same time. How many times did over the years in our 20s and 30s did we hear about athletes that we followed? Could have been football,
Yeah.
baseball, basketball. It doesn't matter, right? It could have been boxing, right? Tyson had a couple $100 million and all of a sudden he's broke. How does that happen? Well, I don't know. Probably because somebody else was managing his money and didn't do
Yep.
it well, right? Managed it well for themselves, not for him.
For themselves, yeah.
Yeah.
Their pockets got filled, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we've seen it many times over and over and over. We see people making these mistakes where they don't have a good human capital management is a big one. I don't want to manage people. Okay, you don't want to manage people. That's great, but then that means your business will only get so big, and that's it. Now,
Mhm.
I say that with a caveat. AI could change some of that to a certain degree. Actually, will change some of that to a certain degree. However, what we're identifying as it relates to AI specifically and managing people, and I've said this many times in my coaching sessions with our clients, don't disregard how important it is to be able to effectively communicate to somebody what you want to do, which kind of
Right.
hinges on leadership and vision and human capital
Vision.
management.
Yep.
Because if I don't effectively tell AI what I want it to do, AI is a worthless tool. I
Right.
have to be able to tell it what I want it to do. Either that or I'm paying somebody else to build my prompts for me. And now, again, here I am in a situation where I'm relying on somebody else to do certain things for me. And if I don't understand it well enough and I don't get the ideal result that I want, then I can't necessarily blame the client or the employee or the vendor. I have to acknowledge the fact that I didn't know enough about what I was asking. Right. So there's a lot of components of that kind of tie this all together. But the point is, there's these 6 core competencies. You really have to solve for all 6. You don't have to do all 6, but you have to solve for them. And there are 3 ways to solve for them. The first way is to hire for it. However, as we just discussed, if you don't understand the skill set, how are you going to effectively hire somebody for it?
Right.
They're going to tell you I can sell, and then they're going to in there, and their numbers are going to be terrible, and you're going to be frustrated. I've seen it happen too many times, right? You hire a marketing person, and you're not getting the results. Well, that's because that person was focused on SEO, and you needed pay per click or whatever, right? I mean, the point is there's these different variations. If you don't understand, you're not going to know. So one is hiring. The second one is partnering. You could absolutely partner with somebody, bring in a partner who's good at some of these things. So if you're good at, let's say, financial acumen, operations, and customer focus, you need somebody who's got the other 3, or at least 2 of the other 3. That'll help enhance the odds of your success. As longer term, right? And you've heard me talk about these statistics. 75% of businesses do not make it 10 years. You want to go 10 years and have a chance to actually sell your business for a profit, you're going to need to be able to solve for all 6 of these.
Yeah, but if you're going to bring on a partner, you better make sure that that operating agreement's like ironclad and
Well,
it's spelled
whole
out.
other set of whole other set, right? Exactly. And is now here's the other thing, and I've seen this happen. You bring on a partner who's a really good friend, buddy, whatever, and could be a female buddy, could be a male buddy, it doesn't matter. But if you have somebody that you really align with, and you guys are good friends, likely part of the challenge is going to be is that you're good at the same things, which then doesn't make sense for a business
Right.
because you're not solving for the things that I need to solve for. We enjoy working together. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you still haven't solved for some of those things and giving up 50% of your business or whatever percent partnership that might be. So anyway, there's hiring, there's partnering, and then the third way is outsourcing, which, as we know, over the last 30 years has become the way for most businesses to grow and scale, is to leverage outsourcing. One of those solutions is a coach, right? If I don't understand marketing, I'm going to hire a CMO, a fractional CMO. And that's, in my eyes, that's a coach, a professional who serves business owners, right?
Mhm.
I don't have in-house legal. Most people wouldn't have in-house legal. Most companies, it doesn't make sense to have in-house legal, but you can have a fractional general counsel. As a matter of fact, we have a law firm that we work very closely with, and they have a very affordable monthly fee that even the small solopreneur can have access to legal counsel, right? And just ask basic questions, the things that are going to be relevant for your size of business. Anyway, so you have all the fractional CFO, fractional COO. So you can literally solve for all 6 of these with some kind of coaching solution, fractional executive, whatever it might be, to help you identify this. And so for myself as a coach, what I identified was too many of my clients are good at 1, 2, or 3 of these, but they are not very good at all at the others. And those are the things that are holding up their business. Those are the things that are keeping their business from growing to where they want to grow. And so that's where any kind of coaching solution can help offset all of these things. Now, there's one last caveat, and I'm not going to go into it in great detail on this show today, but there is a second component of this, and that is what we call the 8 phases of scale. Now, there's actually technically more than 8, but I only focus in the core 8 because that's most of the smaller businesses that exist in our world. But it's basically this phase of scale. I use a revenue number. It could be employee number. It could be any variation of different things that are relevant for that business growth. But basically, if you're $0 to $100,000 in revenue, you're in a startup phase or a side hustle phase. You barely have a business, and all you really focus on out of these 6 core competencies is your leadership and vision. More specifically, your vision,
Sales,
right? Getting clear, and sales and marketing, right? Until you're selling something and bringing in revenue, you don't really have a business. So you start with the vision. What am I going to do? What am I going to solve? What solution am I going to solve for my clients? And then sales, marketing and sales, right? I got to get in front of leads. I got to have conversations with people who are interested in what I want, and I can convert them. Until I do that, I don't have a business. That's $0 to $100,000. Then you go from 100 to 250. Now you're starting to fine tune that. You got a committed process that's consistently getting your results. You're probably fine tuning the vision you had. You're identifying which sales and marketing components are working for you. And now you have some operational needs. Now you're scaling these functional tasks that you need to get done. You're also bringing in some real revenue now at, $15,000, $20,000 a month. You need to probably track those dollars and make sure that they're going where they need to go, and you're allocating accordingly. Because if you don't reinvest in your business, the business won't grow. Right. Maybe you've hired somebody. At minimum, you should have at least a VA or two. And then, customer focus, you got to start paying attention to what your customers are telling you, because if you're not, you'll again stall out and create problems. Right. Yeah. So anyway, it goes 0 to 100, 100 to 250, 250 to 500,000, 500,000 to a million. You get a million to 3, 3 to 10, 10 to 25, then 25 and up. So the whole idea is that each of those different phases, these 6 core competencies have more or less relevance in those particular areas. I should say less, but in the beginning, there's certain ones that have a lot more relevance. They're all important all the time, but some are much more important than others, depending on where you're at in your growth phases, right? So anyway, that's kind of an introduction to the 6 core competencies, really helping people understand how these come together, where the logic for all of this comes from. And more importantly, if you as a business owner are looking at some of these core competencies like Chris did and saying, hey, this is the part that this is where I'm tripping up. This is what's holding me up. This is what you may not see some of them, but you obviously see certain ones. And when you do, that's where I need help. And I need help in this area. Now, you may not be able to identify exactly where in that area, but at least get somebody to start working with somebody to help you identify some of those basic things that we can break down, make those into tactical things that you can focus on and then put into your business.
And you always got to be honest enough with yourself to understand it's like, hey, you know what? I admit it. I'm not good at this thing. Okay. Because if you try to fool yourself and think, oh yeah, I can handle it, I can do this, then like I said, yeah, it stalls.
That's absolutely just about every time. That's kind of what we see, is that people are like, they have all the best intentions and they get there and like, it's like, I'm stuck.
Pride. It's the pride.
Yeah,
I just can't let go of the reins. Like I have
right.
To be a control freak.
And all of that, those good examples. That's leadership and vision.
Yep.
Right. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover for this session. So you have any other thoughts on this, Chris?
No, like I said, I think we, like I said, understanding these 6 core competencies, at least, have a general knowledge of them and getting to understand them is the stepping stone to going where you need to go, for sure.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Good job, Coach. Good job, man.
You're gonna have too much fun with these toys.
Oh yeah, it's gonna get even better. All right, and we're